and welcome to lesson 3, how to play the chromatic button accordion, and this is the B system. So the name of this tune is Largo, and it's basically Dvorak's New World Symphony, really dumbed down just to a tiny excerpt and played in a rather unusual 3 timing, or counting 3 beats of the bar, or waltz time. And so the reason I'm doing this tune is that I'm going to show you how easy it is to change the key of a piece on this instrument, how to transpose from one key to another. So I'm going to show you this tune in a couple of keys, the key of C major and the key of A major. So we're going to be progressing a bit today in a couple of ways, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of technique, so I hope you enjoy it. So this is a 2-chord song. The chords are C and G. We'll add those in a bit later on, but we're going to learn the tune first of all, and of course the right hand finger pattern. Now we are going to use our thumb in this tune, and if you look at the second page, just below that first stave, you'll see our usual box that says notes used in this tune, and underneath that you've got a stave with only 4 notes on, because there are only 4 notes in this tune. Like I said, it's pretty easy. In the key of C, the 4 notes are C, D, E and G. Let's just identify those notes on the instrument. I'll just use my index finger for the moment. So C is row 3, button 2. Okay, D is row 1, button 3. It's coming up the scale. E is row 2, button 4. And G is row 2, button 5. So those are the only notes: C, D, E and G. Okay, so very, very simple. The first, second, third and the 5th notes of the scale of C major, in fact. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of page 1 now, and you can see it says pull bellows out. That means you're going to be pulling the bellows out as you play those first 4 bars. Now, because there's only 3 beats in each bar, you should be able to manage to play all of those notes in those first 4 bars, pulling out, and then you'll be pushing in. And don't forget the other little thing I showed you in the last lesson, pulling the bellows out slightly first. Hope you can see that, just to give yourself a little bit of leeway when you close the bellows, when you push them on the next 4 bars. So those left hand chords are written in bold type. You can see a C above the first bar. We'll worry about that in a minute. You can see the note names are written above the notes. As I said in the last lesson, I'm not sure that's a good idea or a bad idea to put the names of the notes in. You would do better to recognise them as they appear on the stave. So the first note is actually E, and look at the stave, look at the 5 parallel lines, and the head of the note, or the egg-shaped part of the note, is on the first line, the bottom line of the stave. Any note that appears on that line is an E, and it's a minim. The head of the note is not filled in, so it lasts for 2 beats, so it lasts for 2 of your 3 beats, and on the 3rd beat of the bar you've got the note G. Recognise that as being on the 2nd line up of the stave. The head of the note is filled in, so it's a crotchet, and it's a 1-beat note. So the first note E lasts 4 beats 1 and 2. You can see the counting a little bit lower down, and the G comes in on beat 3. Now the right hand fingering, finger 2 is used on the E note. Finger 2 is the middle finger of the hand. Okay, so your first note is this, there's your E, and the G is fingered with the 3rd finger, your ring finger, next door neighbour if you like. So there's your first bar, 1, 2, 3. Now bars of 3, 4, bars of 3 beats in the bar never make sense on their own. You always need the next notes of the next bar. So let's put that in. And it is another G, and this time in the next bar you can see that G, it looks like a minim, and it is, but it's got a dot to the right of it, so it's called a dotted minim. Now if you know your music theory, you may know that a dot adds on half of the original value of the note. So the original value of the note is 2, half of 2 is 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, basic maths here. So obviously that note fills up that entire bar of 3. So it comes in on beat 1 and lasts for the whole of beat 1 and beat 2 and beat 3. So let's just play those first 2 bars, shall we? So here we go, after 3, 1, 2, 3. okay? And then we're still pulling out, carrying on, you've got E, D, C running down. In this tune we use the same fingering on the notes all the way through, there's no changes, so that's nice and easy. So in other words, every time we play the E, it's finger 2, every time we play the G, it's finger 3, every time we play the D, it's the thumb, and every time we play the C, it's finger 1. So from bar 3 onwards, we have E, D, C. Okay, and the E we already know is finger 2, thumb on the D, and then you've got the C, it kind of pivots, doesn't it? It kind of crosses over, and you use your index finger. And the first 2 bars and the third and fourth bars are the same timing wise, different notes. So in other words, you've got minim, crotchet, dotty minim, minim, crotchet, dotty minim. So let's play that first stave. Some people prefer to say first line of music, okay, and that's 4 bars of music. Just get back to our starting position, bellow slightly out, and here we go. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now our bellows are out and we're ready to do the next stave. Now in our next stave we've got D, E, G, E, D. Now as I said, you always play the D with the thumb in this tune, the E with the second finger, the G with the third finger. And when you come back to the D in bar 3, you'll notice something unusual. You'll see there's a kind of a line, a curved line, joining to another D in the next bar. And that makes that D a tied note. Okay, it's tied to the first one. And you don't play it, you simply count it. So you add the value of that note to the first note. So in other words, when you get to that D at the beginning of bar 3, it's going to last for 6 beats. 3 in that bar and 3 for the tied note, but you only play it once. Okay, so you've got minim, crotchet, dotted minim, tied to a dotted minim. So we're going to play that second stave now, pushing the bellows in as we go. 1, 2, 3. Hear that last note there ringing for a long time, in fact for 6 beats. So the bellows are now in and we're going to pull them out as we go. The good thing about the third stave, or the third line of music in this tune, is that it's exactly the same as the first stave. So we're going to start on our E, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to go to the last stave of the music, which is actually on the second page. So this stave of music has not got the same notes as the second stave, but it has got the same timing. So we're going to play D, E, D, C, C. So you can see that that second bar is different. So starting on the D with our thumb, and we're pushing the bellows in. Here we go. And that last note was held for 6 beats. So that's the entire tune. We're in our starting position, so let's play the whole tune and see and hear what it sounds like. Okay, so we're starting on our E, okay? 1, 2, 3. Let's do the same thing, but I'll count along this time. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to put in the left hand chords. Now we learnt these chords in the previous lessons. We'll just go over them now. The C chord is, as you know, in the middle of the instrument, okay? The C bass is on that dimpled note, that dimpled button. So you've got C played with the ring finger and the C chord played with the middle finger. And this is the rhythm we're going to do. We're going to do the classic pa pa, 1 2 3, where the 1 is the and the pa is the 2 3. So you've got pa pa, pa pa, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, and the G bass and the G major chord just above that. Okay, backwards and forwards. So like I said, our chords are written in bold, large type above the stave. So I'm going to count you in. I'm going to play just the left hand chords. So finger on the dimple button and 1 2 3. C, 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 change to G, G, coming back with the bellows, G, 4 of those, and C pulling out, 4 of these, and the final stave, just 2 bars of G, 2 lots of Gs and 2 lots of Cs. The only difference is on the last C, you do your usual trick of, instead of doing the pa pa, you play the bass note and the chord together and hold for 3 beats. Okay? So, left hand pretty simple, now you've got to try and put it all together. I'll count you in with a 3. 1 2 3. So that's a nice little tune to do, and what we're going to do now is we are going to add a couple of little twiddly bits to it. The most common twiddly bit on the accordion or the melodeon is called an upper mordant, which sounds very complicated and posh, but it's actually fairly basic. And what it involves is playing the note that you're going to play as normal, but playing a note above and playing that first note again in very quick succession, kind of crushed in. Very often with this kind of ornament, this kind of twiddly bit, you play the note that's a tone above the original note. Sometimes it's a third above, sometimes it's a fifth above. I think probably the easiest way is just to show you. If I look at my music, the first stave, and look at the E on the third bar, it says ornament mordant to G. So there's the E. Okay, remember we're pulling our bellows out at this point. There's the E, there's the G, and what it amounts to is this. Can you hear that? So let's just put that in and we'll hear how it sounds. Okay? Yeah, yeah. Let's just show you that again. Did you hear it? Maybe if I just take the bass out for a moment, and then you'll probably hear it a bit better without that bass being in. So. Okay, so you go from the E to the G to the E, the normal fingering, there's no new notes, but in quick succession. Instead of just playing the basic note, you crush those 3 notes in, and I'm sure you've heard that kind of thing if you're used to listening to accordion music. It's one of those things you want to use sparingly, do it too much and it's a bit trying for your listener. So that particular mordant is not the classic one where you've got the note just a tone above and then the note again. That one is actually an E to a G, so it's actually a third above. On the second stave there's another mordant. This is the more classic type of ornament, and we've got a D, okay, going up to an E and back again to the D. So we're pushing the bellows in as we do this, and it sounds like this. And the D is played with the thumb, and the E is played with finger 2. Okay, so let's just pull the bellows out slightly and play stave 2. You hear that? Okay, do that again. Let's pull the bellows out so we're going the right way. So here it comes again. And then sure enough, in the third stave, because it's the same as the first, we do our first mordant, our first ornament. And on the last stave, we do that mordant again on the D. It goes like this. Let's play the tune without the left hand, but putting those little ornaments, those mordants, those twiddly bits in. Okay? 1, 2, 3. And it definitely adds something, doesn't it? So let's put the left hand in now and put the those ornaments in and hear what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3. Now if you find it's too hard to pull out for 4 bars and to push in for 4 bars, then just halve that, just do 2 bars like this, okay? 1, 2, 3. So that's Largo in the key of C major, but supposing we wanted to play it in another key. Well, the beauty of this instrument, because it's so pattern based, is that you can move tunes up and down very, very easily. If you notice the pattern of the notes I play in C major, okay? Okay, if I move those up towards the ceiling, 1 button each, okay, so I start here. I've actually transposed or changed the key of that from C major to A major. And if you look at the sheet music for Largo in A major, you'll notice that the first note is actually a black note, which is a C sharp. So C sharp, okay, to E, C sharp, and then you've got B and A. So if you go to your sheet music for Largo in A major and look at the second page at the notes used in this tune, they are from lowest to highest. A, which is row 3 button 1, which is this chap, and then we've got B, row 1 button 2, C sharp, which is a black note because it's a black note on the piano. Notice it's sharp, okay, that means 1 up from 1 semitone higher than C. So it's row 2 button 3, and E, we used that note in the other key, didn't we, in the key of C. This is E row 2 button 4, but it's finger 3 this time. So in this tune, index finger on the A, okay, thumb on the B, second finger on the C sharp, and the third finger on the E. So you've got A, B, C sharp and E. Those are the first, second, third and fifth notes of the scale of A major. And of course in this tune, if you look at the beginning of the stave, you can see 3 sharps on various places on the stave. If you were to have notes instead of those sharp signs, those notes would be F, C and G. So that's telling us that in this tune, all Fs and all Cs and all Gs are raised to F sharp, C sharp and G sharp. Well, we haven't got any Fs, we have got a C, so we raise that to C sharp, and we haven't got any Gs, so that's pretty straightforward. So, but everything is moved up one button and it's exactly the same pattern. The right hand, well, best thing to do is to walk it up the instrument. So you've got C, and by the way it comes up in fifths, so you've got C. If you come up one, as you know, it takes you to G. Come up to one, it brings you to D. And up one more, it's A. So you've got your A bass and A major chord, and the E bass and E major chord just above that. So we say that we transpose the tune down to the key of A. So let's play the tune in A major now. We won't do the twiddly bits to start with, we'll add those in a moment. After 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put the twiddly bits in exactly the same places. This time those twiddly bits are on C sharp and also on the B. Okay, in exactly the same place but just moved up, as you'll see. So after 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? We can actually change the key very simply just by moving that pattern to a different set of buttons. Using the same rows, that works really well, doesn't it? I just want to tie up a few loose ends from the last video, if I may. In that video I talked about dynamics, how you can control the volume and the expression of the instrument by the use of the bellows. And you may not have heard much difference in the volume because the microphone on my video camera it has an automatic level, so it boosts the level if it's low. So if you thought that it didn't sound much quieter when I played in that quiet way, don't worry too much. You'll find in real life if you just nudge the bellows you will get a softer sound. Now I did mention a video that I recorded to explain how the notes run up and down chromatically on this instrument, and I compared it to a piano keyboard. Check that out if you haven't seen it. You'll find it on my YouTube channel, which is Green Plectrum Films, and I'll show that on the screen now for you. But it's probably worth mentioning the difference between the B and the C systems. This is, as you know, a B system, and basically the notes run up in this direction chromatically on any 3 adjacent rows. So like I showed you before. And so they run up in that direction. If you think of it as a kind of a backwards slash like that, okay. So on the C system version of this instrument, which actually looks almost identical, except the arrangement of white and black buttons is different because the notes run up chromatically in a forward slash kind of way. I won't play these notes in that way because you'll get some funny sounds, but if you were to have a C system you would run in this direction, see, in the kind of forward slash. The B system has the B notes on row 1 and of course on row 4, duplicated. You can see the 2 buttons going down. So B system will have B notes on rows 1 and 4, and the C system has the C notes on rows 1 and 4. B system is sometimes called B griff or B grip, and the C system, you've guessed it, is sometimes called a C griff or C grip instrument. Okay, so this is a B system, so the B notes are on rows 1 and 4 duplicated. Okay, so that is essentially is the difference. What does it actually mean? Why would you choose one over the other? Some people say that if you want to play some chords, chord shapes on the right hand, you want to make chords like this, it's actually easier with the C system, not so easy with this. If you want to play fast flowing single note music and you're happy to confine your chords to the left hand, then this type of instrument, the B system, is preferable. That's what some people say. My view is that you can probably do both styles on both instruments. I tried both before I kind of stuck with the B system, which I found better for the kind of music I wanted to play. If you have the chance to try both, I urge you to do so, but obviously these videos are all about the B system. A little word about fingernails. I would strongly advise keeping them short. If you don't know what I mean by keeping them short, I'll show you now. So that is what I call short, and in both hands. The reason for keeping them short is fairly obvious. If you've got long fingernails, they're going to be clacking on the buttons, and the fingernail is going to get to the button before the finger does. So as I say, you're going to have that horrible clacky sound. So I would strongly advise to keep your fingernails short, definitely with the left hand with those fiddly Stradella bass buttons. Make sure you're comfortable. I've been sitting doing this video now for about half an hour. I don't feel kind of worn out because I made sure I got myself comfortable. Like I mentioned in an earlier video, sit on a chair that doesn't have arms, sit up straight, and maybe cross one leg over the other. If you don't like crossing one leg over the other, you might use a guitarist's footstool. I'll show you one of those now. Looks like this, and you can open it out and set it to your own preferred height, and just put it on the floor. I'll give you a little shot of that now. And like crossing your left leg over your right, that brings your left leg up. If you don't like sitting with one leg crossed over the other, or you find that a bit uncomfortable, then a guitarist's footstool might be the answer for you. They're not expensive, about £7 or £8 at the time of doing this video. Other things to mention: watch out for things that are going to scratch your instrument up. Belt buckles are the classic. If you've got a belt with a very sharp metal buckle on it, be careful of that. Even shirt buttons can damage your instrument, so be careful of your clothing that it doesn't scratch your instrument up. Final thing to say is listen to your body. If you are getting aches and pains, it's definitely time to stop and make a cup of tea. I must admit, when I first started playing the melodeon, I went on for hours and hours and hours, got a terrible stiff neck and aching hands and fingers. As I say, listen to your body, listen to those telltale aches and pains. If you start feeling that you're uncomfortable, definitely time to stop, have a break for half an hour or so, and come back either later that day or another day. Don't keep playing until you've got a terrible stiff neck, because it could put you out of action for a long time, and you can get some quite nasty RSIs, or repetitive strain injuries, with this type of instrument, so please be aware of that. So that is the end of lesson 3, how to play this fantastic instrument. Hope you're enjoying it. Practice hard, and I will see you in lesson 4.